Hi.
Hello, good afternoon, Golan. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you so much for asking. So, Golan, thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you as a keynote speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Golan. He's a CEO from Univo Pharma. And so, Golan, I can see your screen. Can you open your slides now?
Yes, you can see
Yeah, that's good.
my slide now?
Yes, I can see it. Can you please press full screen?
Yes, you can see it now?
Yes, it's perfectly all right now. So, Golan, you can start it now and good luck. Stage is all yours.
Hi, thank you very much. Hi for the audience. Today we're going to talk about the Israeli medical cannabis market and the import and the export between Univo and other markets around Europe and around the world. As you know, the global medical cannabis market is expanded, and right now we are seeing a lot of countries that getting involved in the medical cannabis and in the recreational cannabis. It's not like the CBD products or other products are not medical without those standards that we are actually seeing in the medical market. But the medical market allow us to export and import even if it's a drug, even if it's only a drug. So Israeli imports in 2020. In January 2020, the first commercial imports as a raw material was landed in Israel. Import actually allowed allow the Israeli companies to import as a raw material. We are the only company. We are the only country that actually approved the import cannabis as a raw material. Actually, between the countries, between Europe, you can import and export as a final products. Import decreased in the last 6 months to approximately 1 to 1.5 tons per month. Only in Israel, we are one of the biggest markets in the world. Import of the high standards, premium flower, as we can see from another Canadian companies, we can see that the only best flowers can sell right now. The consumer know what he wants, and we are actually seeing that there is a differential between good products, and the quality is the leader of the markets. If it's not great and premium flower, it's not going to be selling, including the ingredients and the percentage of the THC and the CBD. Import the EU from example Portugal and Uruguay and Canada and Africa. There's a few countries that allow to export from their country, like Uganda, like Lesotho. Univo is one of, and right now I think still the only company that actually can export from Lesotho to Israel. We are the only company that actually done this. Let's talk about the market in Germany. Germany is one of the market medical cannabis in the world after Israel. The BfArM is the local regulatory board. The EU GMP and the GACP license required by the supply products to the markets. Doctors prescribes the medical according to the brand best know to have maximum effects. For now, BfArM products are Bedrocan products are the biggest export in the EU markets after, of course, GW Pharmaceutical. The German market, the German population actually is 82 million people. The market in 2020 sold 8 ton in all Germany. It's one of the biggest markets after Israel. Israel, we are 9 million people, and in 2020 sold in Israel 30 ton. It's one of the biggest markets in the world in the medical cannabis. Bedrocan is the main supplier with Aurora and Tilray to Germany because they are the Canadian and they were the first there, and they got the standard, the EU GMP standard. Registration of products needed in the Germany Ministry of Health. This is another issue that companies actually get involved in to register their products under the Ministry of Health in the local market. The UK market, the UK medical cannabis market is growing at a slow rate. Currently, we are waiting medical cannabis clinics begin build quick, then patients are being prescribed their license. It's really difficult to go through UK in the first stage. In all 2020, in the all UK sold 1 ton in the medical cannabis. The regulation there is growing up not rapidly, actually slowly than it expected. We've seen high demand, but still the doctors don't really know what they need to prescribe. It is a medicine, how they can get it. So it's still needed to educate the market. And this is what we are actually doing in 2020 and we're going to do in 2021. GW Pharmaceuticals, Bedrocans, main supplier to UK, Aurora, and Tilray supplying minimal amounts. 200 patients only in the UK market, but we are seeing that they are actually rapidly expanded there. Oils and flour and registration of products are already needed. Netherlands market. In the Netherlands, it's another game. It's a different market because there is a recreational side that actually you can consume it as it's not only at the medical, also as a recreational market. And because you can consume it as a recreational market, the medical market is actually not so it's not so big there because you can consume it as not as a pharmaceutical. So obviously the local Ministry of Health control the import and the export of medical cannabis from Holland. OMC approved Bedrocan as the main and the only producer, cultivator, and distribution for medical cannabis in all Netherlands. Import and export Bedrocan products across the EU. No import approved without OMC approval. For today, no commercial imports to make knowledge has occurred. Netherlands is a difficult market. It's a closed market. They can only export from Bedrocan. Bedrocan is controlled by the Ministry of Health, and this is why it's all going to be there. Italy, import and export controlled by the Ministry of Defense. Italy, actually, the army is controlling the medical cannabis. No import approval based for Bedrocan through the approval of Holland OMC. Both governments work jointly. They needed the EU GMP and the GCP license. For now, no imports are approved in Italy, but we see that the barriers are actually fell down, and we're going to see it's maybe Italy is going to join to this market as one of the biggest players, because still it's controlled by the army, but it's not going to be there. In the army, it's a medical, so we hope they are actually follow the all European market, like Germany, like Israel, like UK, and they're going to educate the doctors to approve and supply a prescription to the patients. Poland is a small market. It's a small population, but its market is growing slowly. Potential 300,000 patients, EU GMP, GCP required, registration of products needed, and MGC Pharma only correct supply in Poland, Aurora, and Canopy seeking for a way in. This is for Poland. It's a small population, but they are rapidly going up. Don't forget that Israel is also a small population, 9 million people, but right now in Israel, there are 30 tons. It's one of the biggest markets in Europe. So the population is really don't get us a signal for the markets, because the Ministry of Health, this is the signal for the market. The regulation is the best signal to know if the market is going to be expand or it's going to be a shortage. Brazil. Unfortunately, we see that the COVID-19 is going crazy in Brazil, and I hope they're going to be better and control this situation. But Brazil imports are still not approval. Only imports as oils for children, and it's really, really, really small market. The EU GMP, GACP, and the PICS are the regulation, the standard that's needed to supply in Brazil. Stability test, they need 12 months to go through the market. Proof of clinical trials or in process. Potential 1 million patient. 1 million patient, it's huge. It's one of the best potentials in the world. GW Pharmaceuticals only suppliers in the markets there right now in Brazil. Very, very interesting market. And actually, Univo is seeking there. Let's talk about Israel. Israel in 2020, we have 80,000 patients. It's 780 million shekel. It's approximately $300 million. And we only 9 million people. In 2021, we are thinking of 150,000 patients. It's one of the biggest markets in Europe. If we are measure it, or if we are compare it to Italy and to Germany, we can see that the amount in kilogram that sold in Germany and in Italy are actually increased in 2020. We can see that the market is double up. And because it's double up from 1 year to another, we are thinking in 2022, 2023 is going to be one of the best markets in the world. So what we have learned until now, we can import and import cannabis finished products and as a raw material. How we can do it, we need to register it as a product with a local regulatory health office who controls the market, the local governments through special bodies created to the medical cannabis industry. It's all about regulation. One country is controlled by the army, one controls by the Ministry of Health, one controlled by a special units, and other markets controlled by some kind of agency, a local agency. It's all about regulation, and because it's cannabis and it's still in the drug community, it's going to be hard, but the demand is seeking high than the supply. Because the population demand is increasing up, we see that the barriers are falling down and the regulators are actually adopted and know it's going to be good for the population. They need to study each individual local regulatory board and the standards. The latest agenda through the ACA agreements between Israel and the European government actually seem that we can export and import from Israel to another European authority without any kind of special special standards or special improvement. So actually, Israel is one of the best players in Europe because we have a lot of database. We are 80,000 patients. We're one of the biggest patients in the world. And there is huge database in Israel because Israel is one of the first country that started to treat patients with cannabis in 1996. And it's actually now seeing really nice. And we see that what kind of strain go through what kind of indication. There are pills, there are drops. In Univo, we are doing another R&D, and our innovations working really hard. We have suppositories, we have pills, we have creams, we have drops with taste for children. We have any kind of special treatment to a special patient regarding to his illness and regarding to his needs, and it's really, really important to indicate it. Well, I hope it was great, and thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm here and will to know everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Golan, for your presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, now with us is Antonio Gomez. He will be continuing from the session. He will be with us in a moment, so stay connected. Thank you. Hello, Antonio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
So, fine. Let me share and start where I think probably I left off.
Okay, so you can start it.
Okay.
So, yes, I can see your slides now.
Okay, so, well, good afternoon now again. And, well, my apologies for, the technical problems this morning. So I'll try, I'm not really sure where I left off, but, well, I'm going to start here with this slide. I hope, well, if it's a repeated one, well. Okay, so we were talking, if you remember, about the challenges in small molecule drug discovery. So we had started with this correlation, this paradigm, which is the correlation between something on the clinical level and something on the biomolecular level, which is where we are acting. Then we went to how drug discovery works today, and then we had two challenges. One of them in preclinical drug discovery, I mean. One of them was making a lot of compounds. The second one was making the good compounds, so that the ones that we made were the ones that provided the more information to make the process as efficient as possible. So I was with transferring technology to the chemistry lab. So as I said, this is not new. It has been applied for many years to proteins and nucleic acids. But if you look at the picture below, you see this is what an actual organic chemistry lab or medicinal chemistry lab looks like. It's like, everything's very sort of dirty, with a lot of liquids, things that spill all over the place. And the point is that it's very difficult to generalize. There are many hundreds, even thousands of different chemical procedures, different types of reactions. Every compound that you make is unique in the sense that you need to apply different reaction steps and different ways to process it. So this is what makes it difficult. And it's no surprise that the fields where it has been applied, so amino acids, just joining amino acids one after the other, it's just very similar compounds, and then you use always the same kind of reaction, the same with nucleotides to make nucleic acids, but it's not so similar, not so easy to transfer to the general organic chemistry. But anyway, this has been done. So the first attempt was started in the 1990s, combinatorial chemistry. So trying to apply technology. It didn't sort of work out as expected. Why was that? Maybe technology was not still up to the challenge. And maybe, it also did things like split and pool reactions, whereas you ended up with a mixture of compounds. You didn't really know what was in there, and it was just too much for the state of, I would say, the industry in general. But now it has come, and it has come in different ways. So the first way, and this is what you can see in the top video, it's sort of trying to make different compounds with trying to apply every sort of organic reaction. The problem with this is that, as I said before, that's not so easy. So it's now more used to things that look like the amino acid synthesis I was referring to in the previous slide. So if you have a final compound or conditions that have to vary, but in very incremental stages, this is where you do it. On the other hand, you have generalized platforms where what you do is that you become very pragmatic, and you select a number of building blocks, small molecules that are meant to be applied to a common scaffold. The scaffold typically comes from a high throughput screening assay, and it has like the main features to interact with the protein that you want to modify. And then by using these building blocks, which are always the same, they are always common, what you do is that you explore the chemical space around this compound. And very fast, you have all the different variations that you need to test. Then on a second stage, obviously the ones that have worked out better, they will be object to new modifications. But in this sense, this is a way of structuring it and making use of all the technology to try to increase make the process of finding the good derivative much faster. There are still issues, of course, so you still need to, it's not just the reaction. So far I have only talked about the chemical reaction where you mix the reagents and you end up with a product. It might be the starting reagent on a next reaction. But after you have your reaction, you need to process it. And this is very complex because it means most of the time you deal with liquids with different phases, organic phase, aqueous phase. It's not that easy to automate. Then you need to purify it because the compounds that you send for biological testing must be very, very pure. And of course, you need to analyze them to make sure that what you have is what you expected to have. And last but not least, we have the synthetic step design. So as I said before, you have building blocks, common building blocks that you need to use to end up with the expected compound. Sometimes the chemical procedures are not so as you would apply in practice as a medicinal chemist would think of. So this is a field where artificial intelligence comes into the picture. Artificial intelligence can help you in trying to devise this chemical methodology, this pathway that will reach to the final compound. And this brings us to the second topic. So if so far, since I reassumed, we have been talking about automation, that is about how to make more compounds, how to increase the number of compounds. Now we are talking about how to make the good compounds. And here it's all about, let's say, computer techniques, especially now artificial intelligence, machine learning. What's artificial intelligence? I just brought some definitions because sometimes it's not so clear. I highlighted mimicking human intelligence. That's, well, a bit frightening, and you can see the robots stepping towards us above, so that this is, I believe, from iRobot, from the picture. They are trying, to kill us all and take the whole planet and things like that. But yeah, what we are talking about is not that. It's about applying things that work like human intelligence to make decisions on specific objectives. Within this field, what is machine learning? That's using algorithms to recognize patterns. And then you probably see the common topic about all this. We have, this morning we talked about the omics techniques, which are trying to help us, but they have created a problem. We have lots of data. We have huge amounts of data. And what we want to do with that data is be able to analyze. What does it mean? We want to find the hidden patterns that will give us the final results, will tell us what is the best synthetic procedure. They tell us which is the best compound that we need to make. So this is all about how to make sense of big data. And here in this picture, which I took from Drug Discovery Today, you can see all the different types of methodologies that are being applied within drug discovery in artificial intelligence. And it's being applied where I would say probably everything where we were already using in silico systems or tools, now we are using artificial intelligence. This is like powerful, it's like modeling techniques on steroids, really. So retrosynthetic design, this is something I talked about just before, can help us to say, well, if I want to reach this, which of these different techniques is the best suited for that? Prediction of biological effects, you are familiar probably with docking. This is like a sort of a docking of a ligand, a small molecule with a protein, where it is going to interact and which one is going to interact better, which one is going to have more affinity. Also trying to prevent from side effects. So effect affinity for other proteins, which are going to raise undesired, unwanted side effects, physicochemical or pharmacokinetic properties. Everything is possible. And probably the one I like the most, the coolest, is drug design, which is I have the protein, I have the pocket, I have all the information from X-ray, from cryo-EM techniques. So which molecule do I have to make? Which small molecule is the one that will have affinity for that. And that's, as I said, that's really cool, and that is being done. Let's think a little bit about artificial intelligence and about some specific types of artificial intelligence. What are they based on? Many of the ones that you see today are based on neural networks. Neural networks, they have an input layer. So these nodes, they have, according to some rules, they send information to other nodes, which are hidden into the system, which then communicate with other nodes and end up with an output layer, which is the result that we want to see. That's neural network, and what you see below is this is a type of artificial intelligence called deep learning. This is deep neural network. As I said before, this is like a neural network on steroids, and it makes use of all the computer power that is available nowadays. And what is this based on? Well, this is probably look familiar, and yeah, I think I spoiled it because I just put the pictures there, and the name says it all, neurons. So this is a graphic interpretation of what neurons look like. At least, yeah, might be something looks like the pictures that Ramon and Cajal took from early neurons. So this system is made to work as real neural networks work in our brains, connecting. So we have the axon, the dendrite, sending information, and then making calculations and sending them to next levels, next layers of neurons, and ending up with the result, which in our case, it's our conscious, our rational thinking. Another one which is not so used for drug discovery, but that, yeah, I really find that the concept is very interesting. This is swarm intelligence. This is pretty old. So it was first identified by Francis Galton, who was the cousin of Charles Darwin, but he was the cousin of Charles Darwin who got attracted to the dark side of the force. And he started talking about eugenics and all sorts of racist nonsense. But, well, he came up with some, on other fields, some interesting ideas, like that of the wisdom of the crowds. He realized that when you have to make an educated guess about something, if you have sufficient number of people guessing at that, the average result will be very close to the actual one, whereas each individual one will probably make huge mistakes. That's, for instance, that's applied in something that we use every day, such as Wikipedia. We are all there. Everyone is just adding their input there, and it works rather fine. Swarm intelligence is the same with a slightly different flavor. So it is based on what social insects do. For instance, you see bees or ants. The rules here is that, well, you see all these social insects, they have these extraordinarily complex societies, which are not organized from the top. It's not like if the queen has a master plan and is telling everybody what to do. Yeah, she's got pheromones and all that stuff, but it's really not doing that much. Each individual member of the hive, of the colony, they are interacting with each other following a very simple set of rules. And by following that very simple set of rules, so for instance, ants, when trying to find the best way to a source of food, they actually try all sorts of different ways. And then the ones that find the shortest one, they arrive earlier, they leave more pheromones on their way, the next ones are guided for pheromones, and all of a sudden you have the whole colony knows which is the best route, and they all are following the same route. So this is something that is being applied now also in artificial intelligence. And this, well, I find it really cool because it sort of closes the loop. So yeah, we started talking about the complexity of biological systems, which are raw material and how that makes our life really difficult. But then what we have now is, if we are smart enough to look at what nature is doing, nature is not only doing things difficult for us, it's only providing us with clues that if we mimic, if we try to interpret and use for our own devices, it will help us at the end of the day to achieve our results. So yeah, that's more theoretical level. So just to finish, concepts in practice. Are these things working? Yes, of course. So they are being applied and they are providing extraordinary results. So in automation, what I have there is a result which is very close to home. This is Toledo R&D site. This is a very small site where I'm based, medicinal chemistry, just very few chemists. We started implementing automation in 2019. Last year is probably the first full year where we had this concept in practice, although we were still trying to learn. Just 3 people doing this, everybody else is still doing the usual organic chemistry stuff, which is, I mean, it's complementary. So I want to make that clear. All are complementary. And 2020, with several months lost due to the pandemic, and still number of compounds synthesized in Toledo doubled. And not only that, because yeah, it's easy to make more compounds if you are making compounds randomly. Those compounds were designed using all possible tools, including, of course, artificial intelligence. On artificial intelligence, the example I have is from, this is a collaboration between a company which is based in Hong Kong and the University of Toronto. And this is quite outstanding. This is why I bring it here. They looked for, in the molecular level, they were looking at kinases, at a type of kinase, which is not particularly easy because you know that all kinases are very similar and it's very difficult to find selectivity among them. And the disease they wanted to tackle, so at the phenotypic, at the clinical level, was fibrotic diseases. In 21 days, they managed to analyze all the data in the literature. They managed to come up with 30,000 designed compounds that were predicted to interact. They selected a few of them. Within the selected ones, they were made, and after 46 days, they had proof of concept in mice. So this, I mean, it's again, the whole process is just a proof of concept. So it's not that you can say that in 46 days you can already have your compound. It's just, of course, it would need more optimization and as I said, just testing that the technology works and that is able to find compounds with no. And this is very important to say. So the compounds were designed, and only after they had been designed, they were made. So it's not the typical iteration procedure of medicinal chemistry. It's like upside down. First you design the compound and then you test, of course, because at some point you need to test and to check that what you were predicting is actually right. So outstanding, really, and showing us the way forward. And well, what is this about? This is all about increasing the efficiency of the drug discovery process. And with that, well, I finish my second part and the whole presentation. So just a reflection that I like to do always, and this is why we are doing this. Why do we want to be more efficient? Because we want to bring drugs, because we want to bring new solutions for patients. This guy is our founder, Dr. Paul Janssen, one of the best chemists in the 20th century. That's what he used to say. The patients are waiting. So, well, thanks for your attention. And if you have any questions,
thank you so much, Antonio. We have a question for you. So it's a question from Ronald Dorenbos. He's asking that, would you know anything about use of AI for predicting log P for compounds that needs to go to the brain?
Yeah, of course. So you have all sorts of predictions. So yeah, I guess your question is comes very much, it's very relevant, especially if you are working in neuroscience and you need to predict the log P. This has been done for many years. So you have many different packages that do log P predictions. What I would say is that the usual ones, they are working, or some of them are working rather well, especially if you select the one that suits best your typical class of compounds. And with artificial intelligence, the only thing that you can do is improve that performance. But certainly these predictions exist. Okay, any more questions? Okay, so thank you very much.